Welcome to the project video for Milestone 1 that goes with the second class of the Milestone. This module has a team video activity, so you should watch this video with your team or at the same time as your team. There are places in the video where you need to pause the video and work together. Take a moment now to coordinate with your team if you have not already done so. Today we are going to explore the data associated with our project. Recall that the data we are working with are experimental data. For the first part of Milestone 1, you assumed that all data were clean, meaning there was no noise. In real life, data collected from experiments have noise. Take a look at the graph on the right. This figure has graphs that are similar to graphs we saw last class. However, notice that the lines are not smooth. These time histories for substrate concentrations 1 and 2 are both full of noise. This makes modeling, and in particular, parameter identification, difficult. Thinking about how we would find V0 in this noise is the next part of Milestone 1. Before we begin actually worrying about parameter identification in noisy data, you are going to work in your teams to explore the data for Milestone 1. Go to Brightspace for your section, then navigate to Content, then Project, then Milestone 1. Pause this video to download the M1B video activity. You should find the link right under the video you are watching. Share the document with your team in such a way that all team members can simultaneously work on it. While you are there, you also need to individually download the data file posted so that each team member can inspect the data. Restart when you are ready to begin the activity to get more instructions. Okay, so you have data for 5 next-generation enzymes to be used in detergents. In the data set, for each enzyme, you have kinetic enzyme tests, which are product concentration as a function of time at 10 different substrate concentrations, and a repeated measure or replicate of each of these tests, for a grand total of 100 sets of noisy data. Now we will explore the data together. You will work on this activity as a team. Begin by taking a few minutes to individually inspect the data. What do you notice? Then, in your team, collate your ideas and add implications for what these mean for how you will proceed in the project. Pause this video to complete the team activity. Restart when you are ready to turn in the activity to get more instructions. Now that you have finished your video class activity, find the instructions at the end of the M1B video activity sheet. Follow the instructions on this document for turning it in. Finally, make sure all teammates have access to the final document that was turned in for future reference. Here are some of the ideas that may have come up during your data inspection activity. First, the data set is very large. This has the implication that perhaps importing data will be a challenge and visualizing the data may be difficult. Second, the data contain noise. This implies that your team must consider how error will affect your approaches. How will you clean up the data or the curves? You also may have noticed that some parts of the data have systematic error, meaning that the noise in the data may have been due to something that could have been avoided. You will need to consider how to handle these issues in your algorithms. Third, the replicate data are not exactly the same as the original data. Some points are similar, but others have large differences. This implies that your team will need to consider the point at which you will combine the data. Will you average the 2 replicates and then do parameter identification? Identify parameters and then average the results? Or identify parameters and pick the best model? Each of these decisions must be justified with evidence-based rationales. Finally, the original and replicate data are not the same length. The implication here is that you will need to account for these differences in your coding. These are not the only things you may have noticed about the data, but these ideas should be helpful as you work on your project. I recommend that you take some notes about some of the implications we discussed here. Now it's time to continue working on Milestone 1. In the Milestone 1 document, you can now begin working on Part 2B. Here, you will first reevaluate your approaches to analyzing the clean data to consider how they might work for the noisy data. Also, consider and incorporate the ideas your team came up with about the data given to you from Natural Catalysts Incorporated, as well as the ideas in this video. Revisit what it means to provide evidence-based rationales. Make sure you incorporate evidence-based rationales in Milestone 1. Check Brightspace for due dates for Milestone 1. Make sure to work hard on the project for the first 2 milestones. This will make the final parts of your project go more smoothly. Ask your professor if you have any questions about any of the content of this video.